Hello and welcome to Money Matters TV and our segment called Growth Stories, where we hear from entrepreneurs and advisors who share secrets and advice on what business owners need to know to grow. I am your host, Mike Verrill, Vice President with the Sharp Financial Group. We are an integrated financial management firm. We've unified business advisory, accounting and tax, wealth management, family office, and capital solutions to help business owners and their families achieve extraordinary things. From time to time, issues involving life sciences, technologies, and healthcare companies may be discussed on this show. Those discussions are not and should not be viewed as financial advice. Moreover, since the show is pre-recorded and shown at a later date, some of that advice may no longer be relevant. You should always seek advice from your financial advisor before entering into any financial transaction. I'm joined today by my co-host, Rija Bears, Vice President with CBRE, a global real estate consulting firm. Rija heads up the media and technology practices in Philadelphia, where she helps high-growth companies develop real estate strategies to support their business objectives. Rija also serves on the program and outreach committees for Tech Girls, an organization that helps middle school-aged girls become exposed to careers in technology. Hello, Rija. Welcome to Growth Stories.
Thanks, Mike. Glad to be here.
It's good to catch up again. How have you been?
Pretty good. How about you?
Good. I was hoping maybe before we get started, you could share a challenge or two maybe that you've run into recently with a client in regards to some of their real estate planning.
Sure. I think one that comes top of mind is a recent client in tech came to us and said, we're totally outgrowing our space. We need more space. And when we looked at their program, we used our floored platform, which is a 3D model where we can take their existing floor plan and place them in there. And we were able to really show them how they could reconfigure and not take additional space.
Oh, great.
So the client was really happy about that.
Yeah.
And it solved for the problem. They didn't want to extend their lease just there. Because they really didn't understand what their growth trajectory was for the next 5 years.
Unpredictable,
so,
I'm sure. Right?
Most definitely.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's awesome to be able to use the new technology to make those decisions a little more efficient.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, that's great. Great. We have a great guest lined up today.
Okay.
A professional lacrosse player, it's now CEO. But before we introduce him, we have a question from one of our viewers.
Okay.
And I was hoping you could help me answer that.
Sure.
Henry Marks from Philadelphia would like to know, how can you utilize the U.S. Small Business Administration in helping the commercial real estate market?
Sure. So that's a great question, Henry. I'd say that the SBA does a really good job in putting startup information on their website, specific to just budgeting for a business and how to sort of form the business. And then going forward, it helps you to plan and budget for office space and what kind of costs to contemplate as you move forward. The other thing that it does, more specific to owning real estate, is they allow you to do loans through the SBA. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and I know you can buy a building as long as you're using at least a certain percentage of it for your business, and then rent out for other tenants if you want to.
That's exactly right.
Specific information is probably available, like you said, on the website, or contact a broker to help you finalize that and kind of navigate through those decisions.
Yeah, it's certainly becomes more specific to each company's needs.
Right.
So at that point, it's really good to have a professional sort of guiding you as to geographically where you'd like to be and those type of pieces of information.
And I know they also like to exhaust other financial sources. So if you're going to a commercial bank or something like that, probably do that first.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I've done with clients that are looking to acquire is if they meet the threshold for SBA, we'll just do a side-by-side on a commercial bank loan and then versus an SBA loan.
Gotcha.
And depending on, how that company's formed, what thresholds they're expecting to meet, could go either way.
Right, great.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that was helpful, Henry. It's always great to hear from our viewers. To submit for a future show, here's how to send your questions to Money Matters TV.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says Send Us Your Questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address again is money, MONEY, -matters, MATTERS, TV.com.
When building a team, it is great to have a diverse background and experiences. It's even better when the team leader has a perspective of the vast experiences to draw on. From CNBC production assistant, Accenture healthcare consultant, legal clerk, associate in M&A practice of a national law firm, and our next guest was even a professional lacrosse player for the National Lacrosse League. We are happy to have as our guest today on Growth Stories, Tony Frick. Tony is a chairman, president, and CEO of GlobalFit. GlobalFit is a company that provides wellness solutions to employers and insurers worldwide. Tony, great to have you. Thanks for joining Rija and I today. Before we get started, could you give us a little overview of GlobalFit and what your company does?
Of course, but thanks for having me. Thanks for that introduction. It's great to be here. GlobalFit's a 27-year-old multi-solution health and wellness technology business. So we're all business to consumer. Our products are distributed through insurers and employers to the end user. And they range from fitness offerings to stress management and mindfulness offerings to nutritional offerings. Most of them are app-based or web-based.
Okay. So a technology play as well.
Exactly.
Great.
That's great. So we want to get back to GlobalFit, but we really want to go back to the beginning. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
So originally from Philadelphia, grew up right outside of the city, and sports were a big aspect of my life. Played a diversity of sports growing up, but really focused on soccer and lacrosse when I got to high school. They were pretty impactful in just my upbringing and kind of just how I approached the world. Went to Malvern Prep, which is right outside of the city, and then ended up at Brown University after that.
That's great.
Great,
So
great.
tell us a little bit about your upbringing, more about the impact that some events had or any mantras that you took with you from that time in your life.
So for me, it wasn't kind of any specific event that had a profound impact on my life. It was more the totality of my upbringing. I had two great parents, mission-oriented parents that kind of taught us the golden rule, if you will. They were both first-generation college students, so I got to see kind of the evolution of their careers and kind of their professional attainment, which I think instilled a healthy work ethic in myself and in my sister. I actually, when I was in elementary school, got to see my mom go back to school while she was raising two kids, which, as a parent of two kids, I had no idea how she was able to do that, which was pretty impressive. But you learn a lot from just watching your parents, and I think I learned a lot of the hustle, the determination, all the effort that success requires behind the scenes that not everyone gets to see. And sports reinforces that. I mean, that's the practices, it's the trainings, it's all of these events that kind of combine to result in a successful outcome. And in my life, I've been able to apply that to business throughout my career.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So when we talked before, you had mentioned obviously you had a chance to go play lacrosse at Brown. You mentioned that was your kind of one of the high school sports you focused on, and you got to had a chance to do that in college. But there was another reason why you selected Brown. Give us some feedback. I mean, coming from, like you said, the homogeneous kind of Catholic upbringing with a school like Malvern Prep, and then going into the Ivy League system. What was that like, and why did you make that the choice?
So an amazing high school experience, but I mean, a lot of folks had similar backgrounds to me, similar upbringings. They looked like me, they talked like me, and it was pretty homogeneous, as you mentioned. And I was looking for a very diverse college experience. And back then I think it was more Yahoo than Google. So I Googled, what's the most liberal arts education you can find, and it was Brown University in Berkeley. And Berkeley didn't have a lacrosse team, so it was a pretty easy decision for me. I was a recruited athlete at the time for both soccer and lacrosse, but wanted to play lacrosse in college. Went on my recruiting visit to Brown, fell in love with the school, and then actually had to call all of my other planned recruiting trips and tell them that went on my first one, loved it, and I won't be showing up to any more.
No kidding.
It's an interesting conversation to have with like Harvard and,
Yeah.
and places like that. They're like, wait, you're not coming? I said, no, I mean, I know where I want to be, and
I'm
it's,
good.
it's Brown.
Right.
And it turned out to be an amazing experience for me. It was exactly what I thought from an academic standpoint. No requirements. You can take classes pass, fail. They really give you the opportunity to chart your own course. And made some amazing friends, both on the lacrosse team and just personally, that are still pretty impactful in my business career today. Met my wife, and we subsequently got married and have 2 kids. So
Wow.
Brown University, I owe an incredible debt of gratitude.
Yeah.
It's easy to write that
Yes,
alumni check, right?
exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's fantastic.
So once you got out of Brown, you
Mhm.
went with Accenture.
Yes.
You were in their healthcare practice. Did you always wanted to go into healthcare, or how did you sort of end up there?
So I was a economics and finance major
Okay.
in college, and for as long as I can remember, healthcare has been a major topic of conversation ever since I was in high school, both in the political realm and the business realm. It has been, in some respects, if you listen to the critics, devoid of innovation, disruption, things of that nature. And it was an area that I thought I could be impactful. After college, I was playing professional lacrosse out in the Silicon Valley for the team in San Jose, and I was looking for my first real job.
Yeah.
And I was looking in finance and more in the consulting arena. And Accenture gave me the opportunity to work with healthcare systems like Stanford and organizations that are really on the cutting edge of healthcare in this country. And I went that direction because it gave me the opportunity to have more of a diversity of experiences in a very short period of time.
Interesting.
That
So
is
you spend that time with Accenture, and then you decide to go to law school.
Mhm.
What was that decision like? Was there something in particular that you came across while working, or was it just something you always wanted to do?
So if you ask my parents, I mean, they knew I was going to be a lawyer from the time I was 4 when I was arguing in the
Right.
grocery store checkout aisle about how I want Cocoa Pebbles and why I should get that.
Right.
But for me, it was something that, as I got older, I got to see kind of firsthand how law permeates all aspects of your life, both
Right.
personally and professionally. And it's incredibly important in business. It permeates all aspects of business. And as I went through college and was a finance and economics major, a lot of the things you look at from a business perspective also have legal ramifications.
Right. Sure. Contracts and
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. So I always wanted to go to law school, and I knew going in that I was never going to step foot in a courtroom. So I went back to law school with the intention to be more of a corporate attorney.
Okay.
And that is really the path you took. You ended up
Mm-hmm.
as a corporate attorney in M&A.
Exactly. And I went back to Penn, and I chose Penn, frankly, because it was in my hometown, but also their curriculum is incredibly flexible. Of most, major law schools, they don't have a number of prerequisites. So you can see there's a theme. Like, I don't like rules and, being forced to take, classes that I don't have
Right.
to. And there, you're afforded the opportunity. I took 4 classes, more in business and strategy that were
Okay.
outside of your traditional torts and contracts and civil procedure. Even took a creative writing class, which today I still think it was incredibly helpful in just being more persuasive in communication, both written and spoken. Also had the opportunity when I was there to work on Capitol Hill for Congressman Brady. And we were down there during a lot of interesting work. It was right when corporations got personhood and a lot of this additional dollar started flowing into elections. So got to work on the legislative response to that. And, you think about law school, you think it's spent in the 4 walls of a classroom. There, I spent more time outside than in those 4 walls, and those were, I think, the most transformative experiences for me.
Getting the practical experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. How it relates to the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. So it was a great experience for you.
Yep.
So you're practicing law, you're in M&A. It seems like, with the business background and the legal education, you're kind of where you want to be. But then you get this next opportunity with GlobalFit. And I think you started, initially on their board, right?
Yes.
You were a board member. And so take us through that a little bit.
So I was a M&A attorney, as you mentioned, at Deckard here in Philadelphia, and then went in-house to a healthcare consulting organization. Spent 5 years there, and that was a great opportunity for me because I got to spend half my time, advising healthcare organizations on human capital planning, succession planning, et cetera. But then the other half of my time as their general counsel, helping them grow both organically and inorganically. I've always said I'm probably a better in-house attorney than law firm attorney because it goes back to that sports aspects. When you're an in-house attorney, you're kind of in the trenches with your CFO, your COO, your CEO. Ivory tower advice about the law isn't incredibly actionable, and you can't really put that in practice. So I liked having skin in the game, and I think what I really honed at my time at Diversified Search was the ability to give more real-world, actionable advice that was better tied to our overarching strategy. But during that time, I stayed involved with a number of private equity-backed organizations, most of them healthcare related, and I sat on the board of GlobalFit for about 5 or 6 quarters. And myself and a handful of the investors and board members really saw an opportunity to take GlobalFit in a new direction. So in 2017, we recapitalized the business and have really been on a growth trajectory ever since.
So was that part of a planned transition from the existing owner to recap, kind of take him out, give him some liquidity, or was he still involved, or how did that?
Yeah, so 27-year-old business and had a number of marquee clients. And the founders, we were on the third CEO after the founders. Still equity holders, still involved in the business. My predecessor was retiring, so it was kind of a natural transition for us. And when we looked at the business, incredibly innovative in the early 90s through the early 2000s, had amassed marquee clients, household names on the employer side and on the insurer side. I think what we had seen in the most recent history was we hadn't brought a lot of new products to market. We hadn't diversified our offerings. And what we saw as a board and an investor group is that our clients were asking for more. Fitness and wellness in kind of the employer and insurance space has evolved so much over the past 3 decades, and their needs had grown exponentially. So what we said is, these businesses have trusted us for 3 decades. Who better to partner with them to introduce new solutions that better serve their contemporary insurance members or employees? And that's what we've been doing for the past 2.5 years. We've gone from about 20 employees to 70 employees. We've introduced a number of new solutions, both through acquisition and organically, and we've effectively doubled in revenue.
Well, that's fantastic.
That's so when you started with GlobalFit, what was the core business, and then where did the clients take you by asking for where they could expand?
So the core business was fitness, and our founders had the brilliant idea back in the 90s of going out and negotiating best-in-class rates to big box gyms, and at the time it was like your Bally Total Fitness, and it was, give us a 20% discount off of your street rate. We're going to package this in an e-commerce platform that an insurer employer can white label and offer to their employees and their insurance members. So value-added benefit for someone that was pursuing a fitness activity, you would save 20% off of the street price. And that product grew exponentially over 2 decades. What we saw is fitness tastes changed over that time. People are more interested in studio classes. They don't want long traditional gym memberships. They're popping into more a studio today, a yoga class, cycle tomorrow, or they're just going for a walk. And then we saw the needs of the population evolve from not just fitness, but to eating correctly. So on the nutrition and registered dietitian side, we've seen on the millennial side incredible focus on stress management and on mindfulness. I was just at a great conference last week that the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association put on, and they articulated that 6 of the 10 focuses of millennials today is really on stress management and mindfulness. They've been raised in an environment where they know they need to work out, they know they need to eat right, but what's really impacting their health is behavioral health issues, stress issues, and mindfulness issues.
Well, that's interesting, yeah, because especially in that age group, you've seen suicide rates and some other issues really increase. So becoming more aware and then using a tool like you have to have better access to those services is tremendous.
So what we did was we bolted on stress management, mindfulness, nutrition offerings onto our fitness solutions. And we've taken a little bit of a different approach, and it's not a one-size-fits-all model. These products can be aggregated and you can take them all. But I like to say it's an a la carte menu.
Sure.
You could say our team is more interested in registered dietitian services, so you partner with our charge group. Or we're really focused on mindfulness, so you use our mindfulness application, Walk My Mind. Or fitness is interesting for us, so it's GlobalFit Anywhere. They work together, you can take them as a package, but what we've found is based off of the demographics of your employees, whether they skew a little bit younger or older, your needs are different. And you're price sensitive, so you don't need, the Ferrari if you really just want the Pinto.
Sure.
How has that changed your revenue model as a business? Obviously, probably just as the GlobalFit with a 20% discount, you probably took a little bit for GlobalFit and then passed the rest of the discount on to the employer. And sure, now how do you structure that?
So what's been interesting for us for revenue growth is a lot of our existing clients had these needs, but really couldn't find vendors that could deliver on them. So a lot of our new products were built in collaboration with our partners. We just went international with a large employer that has 140,000 employees, both domestically and throughout the world. And we are our reimbursement platform, so it tracks your gym visits, tracks your steps, tracks other wellness milestones, and as you hit them, this employer rewards you for doing that.
Oh, wow.
But they couldn't find someone that could deliver it in multiple currencies, in a number of different languages, and deal with privacy concerns in Europe with GDPR. And we said, we'll build that for you.
No problem.
So we built that in collaboration with them, but that's a product that a number of U.S. domestic employers are very interested in because they've got employees throughout the world. So what we've tried to do is kind of grow where our clients' needs are, and then where there's not a ton of competition and greenfield opportunities. We did the same with a large insurance provider around our newest fitness benefit. So this is pay as you go, no membership required, pop into any gym, studio, trainer, and it's called GlobalFit Anywhere. And it's launching January 1st here in Philadelphia with Independence Blue Cross.
Oh,
so about
great.
500,000 folks will be on that platform.
Oh, that's interesting. How have you seen, the health and wellness awareness, I'll say, of the population in the United States? Is that similar to what you're seeing in, say, Europe or Asia? Is it similar, or are they behind us, ahead of us?
So, yes and no. Yes, in the sense that employers here in the United States are very focused on providing very similar benefits to their international expatriates. So if you work for an American company in another country, they don't want two different classes of citizens, if you will, with respect to benefits. So we've seen a lot of opportunity in rolling out a number of those solutions in other markets. The United States, though, is still one of the highest adopters of wellness offerings. Employers, I think, were very enlightened 30 years ago, and these products have just grown over the past few decades. What we're starting to see is that these are ingrained in your benefits, just like your 401k, just like your health insurance, just like your life insurance. I think some folks have predicted that maybe in the next downturn, employers might cut these type of offerings, but we're not necessarily expecting that. If you want to recruit, retain top-tier talent, no matter what market cycle we're in, contemporary employees expect this and they demand this. It's not enough that you just provide a great health insurance plan and a 401k. Contemporary millennial employees are asking, how else are you investing in me as a person? My professional development, how am I getting to the next job, but also how are you kind of taking care of me both in and outside of the office? so that I'm kind of bringing my best self to work every day.
Right.
And I think there's a recognition from an employer standpoint that more holistic view of the employee is going to get the most productive,
Exactly.
efficient, smartest people
That's
working
right.
for you.
And most employers do this because it's the right thing to do, but also it has a great bottom line impact. And we don't shy away from articulating that to both our insurance clients and our
Sure.
employer clients. Fit and healthy employees have lower rates of absenteeism. They have lower rates of chronic disease. So your medical spend trends down over the long term. But also for employers, these employees that are fit, healthy, and feel taken care of really bring them their best selves to work every day. And they report higher levels of employee engagement. And there's a lot more productivity that comes out of that cohort.
Interesting.
Yeah, the one note that you were mentioning that's interesting to me is that gamification and on-demand is translating into this platform as well. It's just such a trend throughout all companies, and it's the same in the healthcare market.
Yep. Yeah, there's 8,000 players in this space today, and we're really still in the early days.
Yeah.
I'd say this market has been around for a few decades, but all of us, GlobalFit and our competitors, are really just scratching the surface. I think what you're going to continue to see is asks evolve, more dollars being put behind these solutions by both insurers and employers. These being really ingrained into benefits offerings, and us really starting to see the outcomes over the longer term of enhancements in productivity, but also overarching health and wellness.
So what are some of the things that GlobalFit will be doing to take advantage of those increasing trends?
Listening. I mean, I'm talking a lot in this conversation, but
that's great.
we spend a lot of time listening. A lot of time listening to our clients. A lot of time listening to our individual consumers. What are you struggling with? Where are your opportunities? How can we be helpful? Where do you wish a vendor, existed because you can't solve a problem on the health and wellness side? And from those conversations, frankly, a lot of our best products kind of originate from.
Interesting. What would you recommend? One or two things that you'd recommend to somebody in the C-suite, a CEO running a company that's kind of on the front edge of a trend and trying to take advantage of that? What are some things that you've experienced that you'd pass along?
And then it goes back to kind of listening and more of a meritocracy. We try to create an environment where the best idea wins. I am really happy to say that none of the products we built were my idea. We just sat there and listened to our teams, listened to our clients, and really got a better understanding of where the opportunities were in the market. And then we chased them very, very aggressively. And what I found to be very interesting is some of the greatest ideas that we've been able to put into practice come from the least expected areas of the organization. So we've really tried to foster our team to think big, not shy away from bringing new ideas, and then kind of owning them and bringing them to market.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you make sure you read every day?
So 2 kids, a children's book with a lot of pictures and probably a handful of words. But in all honesty, a lot of blogs. I mean, I don't have a lot of time in my life to read for pleasure, but like Axios Pro Rata, which is a great private equity venture capital blog that gives me a great daily roundup of my space every day.
Interesting.
That's great.
Well, this has been fantastic, Tony. We really appreciate you spending time with us and learning a little bit more about GlobalFit. I'm excited about the fitness trend. I believe in wellness, value-based care. I think that's definitely a smart way for us to be heading, and I'm glad to see that you're kind of the forefront of that, leading that charge.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you, Rija, co-host today. Appreciate you spending time with us and helping us out to talk to Tony.
Always great to be here.
Great. The next guest for Money Matters TV is Graham McConnell of Nth Round. As a reminder, you can download the podcast and on iTunes and Stitcher, and as well as see programs on our YouTube channel, Money Matters TV. Thank you for joining us for our continuing discussion on growth stories.